Welcome to the Higher Arabia podcast, powered by MatchMaker #1. I'm Ines Mokrani, recruiter, coach, and connector of talent across Europe and the Middle East. In this podcast, we explore the challenges, opportunities, and success stories of hiring in one of the world's most dynamic regions. Let's dive in. Welcome back to our chat. Today we're diving into why Western management models, with their heavy focus on process, predictability, and control, just don't cut it in the Middle East.
Right, it's all about how systems clash with a culture built on relationships and trust, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. In the West, systems are designed with structure that outlives people. But in the Middle East, it's like relationships beat rigid processes every time.
So the conventional playbook just doesn't translate there.
Right. It's not that those models are inherently bad. It's that they're incomplete. They miss that human element. In the Gulf, leadership isn't administrative, it's personal.
And it's almost, I'm thinking, like a mismatch of styles where, say, a CEO's dashboard might not win hearts and minds.
Exactly. Consider this. A European executive team once came in with the best consultants, shiny dashboards, and a 120-day roadmap to restructure a GCC company.
Yes.
But within just 3 months, the local leadership had stopped engaging, complied without truly committing.
Wow, that speaks volumes about the importance of trust and presence over mere process metrics.
Absolutely. When leadership in the Middle East hides behind numbers, it feels weak because trust and personal relationships are what command real respect.
Yeah. It almost seems like their approach is geared less toward adherence to checklists and more toward heartfelt connections, right?
Exactly. For instance, consider how they view KPIs. In many Western setups, data is held as gospel. But over there, data is seen as information, not absolute authority. Leadership authority comes from reputation, reliability, and emotional intelligence.
Interesting point. So you're saying that leadership doesn't just get handed through numbers, but rather it's built through genuine interpersonal connections.
Yes, precisely. And here's another twist. Speed. In the Middle East, speed is not about haste. It's leadership language. Fast decisions signal confidence, while delays can spread doubt like wildfire.
That's quite a contrast. In Europe, there's always that ritual of endless meetings and waiting for alignment. Now, alignment might be great for sanity checks, but over there, it can actually kill momentum.
Exactly. Leaders there decide then align while moving, almost like they're balancing on a tightrope, trusting their instincts first and confirming later. And that dynamic completely flips the Western model on its head.
But how do these leaders manage the potential chaos of rapid decision-making? Doesn't speed sometimes backfire without proper structure?
Great question. It's all about the context, really. While they do prioritize speed, they also value early shared ownership. It's like power is shared rather than guarded. Decisions come fast because the culture expects it. People know that if you start slow or overthink things, doubt creeps in and disrupts the whole organization.
I see. So it's less about having all the answers up front and more about trusting the team to figure it out as you move forward.
Exactly. And here's where the critique really kicks in. Western managers often try to force their systems and expect human behavior to adapt. But people never really adapt to a rigid system. Instead, the system should flex to meet the people where they are.
That's a tough pill for many European leaders to swallow. They might feel that their tried and tested frameworks should work anywhere.
Right. And that assumption leads to a weak kind of leadership. When you rely only on KPIs and schedules, you're missing trust and the human touch. And hey, a spreadsheet, no matter how detailed, can't inspire loyalty like a genuine personal presence can.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious, though, what do you think of the criticism that sometimes focusing too much on personal trust could lead to favoritism or lack of accountability?
Valid point, but it's more about balance. It's not about turning into a soft manager who lets go of accountability. It's about pairing accountability with relational authority. In the Middle East, trusting relationships fuel accountability because people feel respected and truly valued.
So then, the actual leadership model that works there is what some call trust-first leadership.
Exactly. It's like this pyramid order. Trust first, then speed, and finally structure. Western models tend to put structure first and expect relationships to naturally develop from that. which doesn't hold water in the Middle Eastern context.
It's an inversion of the usual model, but it totally makes sense in that cultural environment.
And let's not forget the importance of influence. Western leaders might try to be right all the time, but here it's about being effective. When you win an argument by technicalities without winning people, you risk losing both loyalty and the organization's momentum.
Yeah, I see what you mean. When you lose the relationship, you can pretty much lose the whole team, right?
Exactly. Also, remember the example of that European team with all the fancy tools but lacking genuine relationship building. You know, the one that ended up with a disengaged local leadership. It completely illustrates how optimizing for process over people just doesn't work in that context.
It's like you could have the best technological setup in the world, but without the personal engagement, decisions fall flat.
Right on. And then there's the idea of speed of decision making. In the Middle East, decisions made quickly are seen as a sign of strength and clear leadership. Delay equals doubt, and doubt, as we noted earlier, is contagious.
Absolutely. That shift in perception really underlines how important context is when applying management practices across cultures.
Exactly. It's about importing understanding, not exporting a one-size-fits-all model. Instead of imposing hierarchy and rigid structures, leaders need to invest in relationship building.
And that takes a totally different mindset, more adaptable, more present, more willing to engage on a personal level rather than just enforce policies.
Precisely. European leaders who might thrive on clarity and analytics can quickly become isolated if they neglect the human dimension. The so-called hyper-rational executive, emotionally distant, overly framework-obsessed, is doomed in this environment.
Yep, it's almost like in the Middle East. If you're not willing to let your guard down and engage on a personal level, you risk being sidelined entirely.
Exactly. And that leads us to the point. Western management models aren't failing because they're inherently wrong. They're just unfinished. They need an extra layer of trust-first, relationship-driven leadership to truly work in places like the GCC.
It's fascinating how evolving management styles are so contextually bound. You could say that the Middle East isn't anti-Western per se, but is instead post-Western in its management evolution.
Right. It's not a rejection of Western practices, but an evolution. A leadership style that recognizes that, in a world driven by uncertainty and rapid changes, personal presence and trust count for a lot more than just numbers on a dashboard.
So the bottom line is, for anyone looking to operate successfully in the Middle East, it's critical to import understanding and build relationships over simply imposing systems. Without that cultural insight, even the best practices can fall flat.
Exactly. Trust leads to speed, which then allows for structure that actually works, not the other way around. And if leaders don't evolve with this mindset, they're in for a rocky ride.
Right on. This is really eye-opening. It seems like the future of management is all about blending data with genuine human connection, ensuring leaders are both effective and authentic.
You got it. And that, folks, is the crux of why Western management, as it traditionally stands, just doesn't work in the Middle East. Thanks for joining in on this deep dive.
Absolutely. Thanks for the insights. This conversation definitely sheds light on how nuanced leadership really is in different cultural landscapes.
Thank you for tuning in to the Higher Arabia podcast, brought to you by MatchMaker #1. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, share, and leave us a review. It helps us connect even more talented individuals with opportunities. See you next time. Until then, keep building bridges between cultures and careers.